Just a moment, I'm running some documents in for Doug Shale. I'll be. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, welcome to Planning Commission for the November 20th, 2024 meeting. We will start off with prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. The prayer will be by Commissioner Mitchell and the pledge will be by Commissioner Tupou.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be here this evening. We're thankful we can all gather for our meetings this night. We pray at this time that that would be with each of us in this meeting, that we can address the items that are on the agenda and do so in an orderly fashion. And we're so grateful for our city. We're grateful for our mayor and our councilmen and those who work diligently throughout the city to make it a wonderful place that we can enjoy. And we thank you in this, we pray and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome to Planning Commission. The first agenda item is the approval of the agenda. I'll look for a motion for approval of the agenda.
Commissioner Tupou, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Shill, I second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The second is the approval of the minutes from the November 6th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting.
Shill, I move that we approve the minutes for November 6th Planning Commission.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 3 is there any declarations of abstentions or conflicts?
No.
I don't have any.
Okay. So the first on our agenda is item number 4, the Stuckey Farms. It's a action requested Z-2408, a request to amend the Stuckey Farms planned community development. The applicant is the Preserve at Stuckey Farms Holding Company, and I will turn this over to Eldon.
Thank you, commissioners. Good to be here. The applicant is requesting to approve to amend portions of the Stuckey Farm PCD. The applicant has included updated sections, which I will briefly discuss here. If there's anything you want to further discuss, we can stop and do so at that time. The proposed name change is to Alea. Section 2.0, specific site plan. It's very low density, and there is a 9.1 acre reduction in this area. The next area is the low density, and that has a 34.9 acre reduction. The medium density has a 31.3 acre increase. The medium high density has a 9.7 acre increase. They're proposing to add a mixed use zone, which is 76.2 acres. It's the orange color there. Added a resort zone of 37.4 acres. The commercial zone is a 75.8 acre reduction in the designated commercial. Now keep in mind the previous PCD or the current Stuckey Farms didn't have any mixed use or resort, so that commercial zone loss, it sounds like a big hit. However, it's being added into that mixed use resort areas. The recreation waterways is a 6.7 acre reduction. Those large blue areas there. The semi-public and park and open space is an 83.5 acre reduction. And also updated the zoning designation table 2.1 as described above. So the next table in the slide there just breaks that down as we discussed. They are also incorporating a permitted use table, which is shown on 2.2. Just want to bring awareness to the long-term RV parks. It's being proposed in the commercial villages along with the storage areas being a permitted use in those commercial zones. They are proposing a density summary chart, which is Exhibit 2.3, which the current PCD includes 2,436 units. They are asking for 2,601 units, which is a 165 unit increase, which broken down over the whole project is a 0.3 unit per acre ratio increase over the whole project. They're proposing to remove nightly rentals from Village 12A. You can see it there in the yellow. And moving the nightly rentals to Village 4, which will be 27 units. Village 12, which will be 18 units. Village 12B, which is 100 units. Village 13 would have 49 units. And Village 27 would be 65 units for a total nightly rental count of 259. On those nightly rental unit counts, the existing PCD farm, Stuckey Farms, in there, the Village 12, 12B, and 12A, there was never a total density given for nightly rentals. It was all based off of the medium-high density. So if you do the math on that, it's 28.5 acres, a 7 to 12 unit acre would be allowed there. On the low end. They could have brought 199 nightly rentals up to 342 if they would have been at the 12 unit per acres. And the current project, they're asking for 65, 259 nightly rentals. So it's within reason of what was previously approved there. They're updating the zoning comparison chart, which is Exhibit 2.4. I do just want to note in that the mixed use zone, the condotel and hotel height is proposed at 60 feet, or they could go up to 60 feet tall. And the semi-public use height increased from 35 feet to 45 feet. Section 3 in the design guidelines and standards, they have incorporated or asking to incorporate a 40-foot private street cross section, which is in Exhibit E. And they've also removed drainage ditches along major roads and replaced with curb and gutter, which is an improvement. I know some of the comment we received publicly was just a lot of runoff, no curb and gutter in the area, and they're planning to address those issues. Section 4.0, the grading concept plan, incorporated a grading concept plan. Section 5, the utility plan, they have also incorporated a utility plan. Section 6 is the general landscape plan. And Drew, if you could scroll down, I think it'd be beneficial to pull up the landscape plan in Section 6. It's down there quite a ways. I don't have a page number on that. Let me see if I can find one.
Hey, Eldon, this is Doug. Mr. Shield. I'm going to go back just a second. You said that the increase wasn't significant, and the numbers I heard were previously it was approved for about 165. True, and now it's increased to 2 something?
The total increase is 165.
Correct, yeah, they're asking for 165 units more.
And that's not significant? That's what I thought I heard you say.
Well, the nightly rental ask, I'm not sure what comment you're referring to. Maybe I should ask for clarification as to what part.
Well, you just brought up a comment that there was an increase, and my brain was too slow at that point. I'm sorry. But you said it was not significant, the increase that
So-
they're asking for.
Yeah, they're asking for 165 more units, and then nightly rentals, they're within reason as to what was previously approved.
What was previously approved?
There was no density given for the nightly rentals. It was all based off of acreage. They were allowed 7 to 12 units per acre in that area. So if you calculate that out, on the low end, they could have brought 199 nightly rentals. On the high end, it would have been 342. So they're coming in the middle of that. Seems within reason.
Sorry to get you off base for a second, Eldon. Where we're adding 165 units from what was originally approved, correct?
Correct.
Or do we know where we're adding those 165 units at? I mean, if you don't know, that'd be a question for the applicant when they come up, but that's one of my questions. I didn't want to forget while Doug was on that.
Yeah, I don't have that number on hand. I could have to do some calculation on that.
Landscaping starts on page 70.
You guys turn up your mics, we can't hear much.
Landscaping starts on page 70. 71, actually.
So on this landscaping plan here, box number 1 up top, if you find that on the map, that is the existing Meadows Park. It is not public at this time. However, the applicant developer would like to make that public. They're aware that they need to make those improvements, bathrooms, a few parking stalls, get that up to park standards. They would like to bring that forth and make that public if the city's willing. Number 2 is the farmhouse there. That's open to Stuckey Farm homeowners and available to Washington City residents to pay and play. Includes mini golf, lazy pool, and access to the large event center. Area number 3 is expansion to that farmhouse. They'll be adding large event spaces and venues. It's open to Stuckey Farm homeowners and available to Washington City residents to pay and play. Area 4 is the detention pond area, which is open to Washington City residents. Area 5 is the trailhead parking with a farmer's market, and that is open to all Washington City residents. Area 6 is the recreation waterway, which is a commercial use. This is open to Stuckey Farm residents and available to pay and play as well. Area 7 is a pickleball venue. It's a commercial use with dozens of pickleball courts. This is open to the Stuckey Farm and Washington City residents, a similar field of big shots, top golf venues, kind of a pay and play area. Number 8 is a picnic, promenade, pavilion area. It's open to all of Washington City residents. Number 9 is city public parks, open to all Washington City residents. And 10 is the resort clubhouse, which is a commercial use. And that's open to Stuckey Farm residents and available to Washington City residents to pay and play.
I have a question. Is there parking built in on each of these sites? 'Cause I don't see it on the map.
There will be, yeah, that'll come in with the pre-plat.
Okay.
That concludes the highlights, kind of the core of the changes there. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of Z-24-08 for the zone change request, amending the current Stuckey Farms PCD as described above and shown in the exhibits. And this will be going on to City Council, and that's based on the findings in the report. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have at this time.
Bill, and this is Commissioner Mitchell. How long ago was the previous plat approved? How many years has it been since the original?
I was informed, it was 2007-ish, 6 or 7, that Stuckey Farms was approved, well before
So
my time.
17 to 18 years ago,
18 years.
original PCD was approved.
So did they keep the same zoning? Because it was a PCD, so it had all these, basically these same pods everywhere, correct? And they've kept them the same? Do they change? Like, I know in the comments about the high-density housing on the 12A is what it sounded like. Was that originally, what was the original zoning of 12A?
Medium high density. And in the packet, there's an exhibit that shows the existing layout that includes all those details as well. There are small changes with each of the villages. For example, Drew just pulled it up there on the far left, Village 11 was shown all open space.
Village 11 is no longer, just to add on to that, Eldon, sorry, but that was taken out a couple of years ago and sold. It's on the other side of the ridge. There's a development, a whole different subdivision that's not part of Stuckey Farms anymore. It's on the back side over by the high school. What's that called over there? And
Finley Farms.
Finley Farms area, that's just a regular subdivision. So 11 is gone. Here's the original.
And obviously, there's a lot of this that is existing, or portions of it have been built out.
Everywhere you can see these lots that are shown up in the green, different shades of green, that's all built out or platted. The current new owners did not buy this. That stayed in the, because, well, it's already owned out by many of the people that live there,
Okay.
right? So, but what is changing is these cottages, you were asking about 12A. Those were given nightly rental up there, south of the Warner Gateway development, et cetera. So they're taking the vacation rental off the table. It'll just be, I think, a townhome project, if I remember right. So that's 12 is no longer vacation, won't be through.
But the clubhouse, the mini golf,
This area is still,
pool, that's,
as we just talked about.
it's not the existing one that's already,
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're not going to redo the clubhouse, but this barn area where it says barn is just going to be more of an event area. But on the north side where it says the cottages up here that you can see, this area is now 12 or 12A
12 and 12B.
up here.
Oh, that's
That's
12.
12A.
12A.
That's what I wanted to focus on. 12A was vacation rental. They're taking that off the table, and I think it's going to be with a townhome project. Sod Farm is down here, won't be there anymore, but Village 13 is currently what you see, the Sod Farm. And they're only staying there until it gets developed.
So the medium high density that they're asking for in that section now is still the 7 to 12 dwelling units per acre.
I would say yes.
I mean, that's the cottages.
That's an equal
That's
transfer.
the cottages. And
The
that's what it-
cottages would have fit in our city's medium-high density. It's just the use is going to change. It won't be nightly rental. It'll still be
It'll be
medium-high
homes.
density, but in townhomes more than likely. But privately owned and not, vacation rental.
Right. So, I mean, the original plan was to have the medium high density in that spot. That's what I was wanting to make sure of.
Yeah.
Some other notes I made, Village 15 on the old plan was commercial. They're now changing that, or asking to change for resort/medium density. And then also Village number 16 in the current plan was commercial and is now resort.
I mean, so we can obviously kind of go through these. It would almost be nice if we had the two side by sides, you could make the comparison. We've addressed some of those questions, right, and concerns. Is it possible, Drew, that you could put screen to screen, old, new?
Try, I'm going to have to reduce some things.
And we can
I
bounce.
don't know if I can get them side by side because one will override, right? Let me go here and reduce this. It may not let me. Oh, there we go. Be able to pull it to the side though.
So in the old one, it said Village 19 was storage. And in the new one, it's still going to be storage and commercial.
Because
Right.
it got purchased by somebody who has not built it yet.
Okay.
That's why.
And
He was sold that. We don't want to take that away.
exactly. That's I wanted to make
So-
sure that it was that some of it's still the same.
Thank goodness Steve's still around. So there you go.
Okay,
Thanks,
there we
Steve.
go. It's easier on the,
The old on the right, here's kind of now they're tilted. Sorry, we can't change that. So just kind of in your mind, flip that around.
At this time, we don't have specifics. I know there was a lot
Well,
of
I
comments.
spoke too fast. Thank goodness for IT people, right? It's like
There were a few public comments on layout and wanting to dig in as to what it's going to look like. That'll come forth at the plating stage.
Right. And it'll probably come with each village, just like DR Horton's doing.
Correct.
And we'll see what everything looks like at that point. This is just to change the PCD,
Give them the,
correct?
yes, allow them to build per the density that they're asking for.
I've got comments, but public hearing or do we ask more questions? Yeah, so this is Commissioner Mitchell, obviously we've gone through the public comments and, a lot of the concerns about the changes. So I was in my head just trying to get a better visual of what had been approved previously and then what is now. So in my simple mind, obviously the high density and the commercial or the mixed use, which are the areas that Pete just described, it's the areas on the one side of the main road where, is that a correct, or is there gonna be high density on?
Well, we're gonna see
The west
most of the
side
units
of the
come in on villages 13, 14
Okay,
will be where
that's on the
most of the density is
east
gonna
side,
come in at.
yeah.
And then the resorts to the southern part of the development, away from those established residents. And again, they're wanting to create a walkable, invitable development, which is why they're asking for a little more density. Bring people in and
So if I may, while you guys are talking, just to answer Commissioner Shields' point, Yeah, 165 extra units might seem like a lot if I was only on 10 acres of land, right? This is 617 acres of development. That's why we say 165. You know, some people that might be significant over 600 and almost 20 acres. You don't feel like it's a huge, significant jump, especially when a lot of them you're going to get mixed use products in 13 and 14. That again will be mostly commercial with some residential, which is what we're, cities are going to get more units. We actually end up with probably more commercial in this new plan than we had in the original one. And that always makes our eyes light up a little bit to have the possibility of commercial and recreation. So that's just where staff's viewpoint is, if that helps you.
Well, one thing they probably don't have it phased out yet, but I guess what is their intention? Where are they going to start?
It's at the very, very end. Yes. And I would guess 20 pages from the end.
Sorry. The light pink is phase one. So you're looking at this area, because I think it's already laid out, right by the pond. This part of 8 and 7. I can't tell, is 6 and 8 right here go together? Okay. And 12A is part of that first phasing? Okay, so you're looking at 12A, this sliver right next to number 4. This pink area with the 8 in it and the 6 in it and the 7 in it is phase one. Residential. Phase two is this, what do you call that, mauve with 27. So that's going to be the nightly rental on those peninsulas and finishing up area 4, which is the ponds and this development number 4. And then they'll go across the street over here to 12B and finish up that area by the farmhouse. That's phase 2. Phase 3 is all the yellow, which kind of stands out. Phase 4 is the bluish, light blue color. So number 9 and down here, just on the north side of number 7. And the last phase is going to be these commercial areas down here in the bottom half of number 14. And you can ask them about time. I'm just saying there's your phases you asked for, and we can get it from time, what they think a year count is on that, Commissioner, when they come up.
Thanks for defining that.
Thanks, Eldon.
Yeah, thank you guys, appreciate it.
So at this point, we'll open up we'll open up the public hearing portion of this. We did have the online submittals. We've got those 25, 30 of them, however many there were. We've all read them. They're on the record, so we know them. If you want to get up and speak to this, please do. Understand that we've read your comment. Don't get up and read your comment again to us that we've already read. We do have it. We've read it. Staff's read it. So if you'd like to get up and speak to this, please do so. And try to keep your comments to 3 minutes if you can. And please state your name.
I'm Maureen Martindale. I live in the Crossroads area on Oxbow Way. I've been there 4 years and I did submit comments.
I need you to pull your mic closer.
Oh, sorry. My question is, I mean, we've been very patient and we're still waiting for Washington Fields and the retention area to be done. And my question is, what is the timeline on that? And can that be done before everything else is started? Because we have been promised that for a long time. We were told by the city that nothing could be done until the acquisition was, until it was sold. That was done in January, February area. And nothing has really changed. I realize that there has to be water that has to be put there, but there's a lot of land being moved in the lakeside area, and we've all been there for a long time complaining about Washington Field, the erosion, the garbage, and the retention area, and nothing's been done. We're not getting any answers from our HOA. They are ignoring us, and we've asked for meetings with the developers, and we just need a timeline on when that will be done before anything else.
That I don't know. I'll have to ask and find out if we can get, do you have an answer to that?
I'll just have the applicant write that down and address that when you guys come up. They'll answer
Okay,
that.
thank you.
My name is Frank Pine and I live in the Meadows. I have a question in regards to 12A. My house is right next to that section there, and initially I'm right off Cattail Way. And my question is, at one time Cattail Way, right there. Cattail Way was going to run all the way to the clubhouse. Is that still going to be that way, or is it looks like it's going to stop?
That should be addressed when they come in for the.
You are running this road the same, but okay, it will continue through.
My name's Dan Cox, live in the Crossroads. Concerned a little bit about traffic, coming up through Stookie Farms Parkway into there. And then the one on the very south end, I don't know what the road's going to be called. Is that all going to be connected into there? And how is the traffic going to be going through the Crossroads and the Homestead and out those areas? I think the biggest concern that we have, though, as residents in Stookie Farms is that, like she has said, that we've been promised a lot of things, but it's getting to look like a ghetto out there, particularly the drainage area and all that, the backside of some of the homes in the Crossroads that's right on Stookie Farms Parkway it's a mess, and I don't think these guys want it to be that way either, but that's why she's asking for some kind of timeline. I've lived there now for 6 years, and it's not changed. So, thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to make a comment. If you're going to make a comment, please come up and state your name so we can get it on record.
Susan Cox. I just wanted to say that we have been promised this, over and over, and we have come to the city We've taken things to code enforcement, we've taken things to development. We keep giving names, but nobody does anything for us, including you people. And if the city isn't gonna take care of our property, and if you guys don't wanna hold it to a higher standard, then our standard keeps dropping down. If you go to the farmhouse, the pool area is full of trash, old beds. The chlorine is sitting out on the public eye. And I know from my previous job, that kind of thing is not, that's not code whatsoever. But the city of Washington is not helping us out one bit out there, because Maureen and I, our husbands, we signed petitions, we took pictures, and then everybody just wants to pass it over. And so this is a representation of you people.
What do you want?
Our community is a
What do you want the city of Washington to do out there, ma'am?
well, quit allowing more development until you finish something.
They haven't allowed any more development out there. It's been the same
You
developer
know
for
what?
15
They've been
years.
moving dirt for 5 years. I kid you not.
It's been
and
the,
building
it's
homes.
been the same developer the whole time, ma'am.
Well, I know, but can't you make somebody do something?
I just asked you the question, do what? What do you want the city to do on private property? What do you want the city to do?
Tell them to finish something before they start a new project.
Okay?
I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you do things in a sequence. Anywhere else in St. George,
I don't need to argue with you. I'm just trying to make the point that the city doesn't get to tell developers.
but you're the ones that okayed the development.
The city
And
has,
so-
just a minute, the city has to accept land use applications.
Okay,
And if they get approved, they're okayed. And then the developers have their time frame within which to work.
yeah. But how long is that time frame?
With the Stuckey Farms developer, they had a development agreement for 25-year time frame. So they still
And
had
you think that's okay for your city to look as it does out there?
standard for development agreements around the state.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, in this case, what's happening, and the city's excited about it, is that prior owner has sold out.
Well, we understand that,
New,
but
just a minute, and a new owner has taken the development rights and is proposing new uses. And so that's one way I think a city can do something about it. But when you were still dealing with the developer that you bought from, that invested for 25 years, the city doesn't have as many levers as you seem to think they had to force that things have to change on private property that the city doesn't own.
so we're just screwed then, pretty much.
No, you're not screwed.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just very frustrating, because you go to Sun River, you go up to Brio, everything looks so nice, and then you come out to our situation, and it's like, oh, and am I right, you guys? You're right. I mean, we all agree.
The city doesn't disagree with you. I'm asking you, what is it that you thought the city could do when your developer was not doing their pace? It's private land. The city doesn't get to just go down there.
Help me.
Well, let's don't get caught up in again, we're here for a zone change. We're not here to talk about past, no, just please, I know your frustration, because I was just gonna point out, I personally went out there and made a lot of weeds get pulled down. That was me that pushed them by Primrose. You have to admit, don't sit and look me in the eye and say nothing's been done. When I know, no, you had your moment. I'm not trying to be mean, but let me finish that, because there's other folks seeing, but we went and hounded them to get those weeds down. And they were pulling them down, and thank you for acknowledging that there have things that have been done. We've been frustrated too. You have a new opportunity here with a new developer that wants to do some things and help you out.
Yes.
Okay, they want to help you out.
I just say one more thing, I'll be quiet.
In front of the microphone, ma'am.
Because our landscapers won't do anything.
You need to speak into the microphone, please, so we can get this on record.
Because our landscapers won't do anything. You know, we're in our 70s. I don't know about you guys, but we went out on Washington Fields Road and we picked up trash. The Pions pulled all the tumbleweeds out, and we were out there and filled a whole trailer full of stuff. We're 70. I don't want to be doing this, but we have pride in our community, and that's ridiculous. And if you guys would live out there, I think you would be the same thing. So,
Well, we live pretty close.
We agree with you,
we don't disagree with you.
but we don't have,
Honest with you, I'll give you my 2 cents. The other developer was probably bigger than him, and he couldn't complete. That's why he sold out. We're hoping and praying that this new developer has the money behind him to finish the job. And hopefully he knows what he's inheriting with some cracked sidewalks and rough concrete out there or whatever, that he'll take care of it. And I think he will. I think that's their plan. We're just hoping and praying they do that. And I think they will. They have a grand old plan. It's a big old plan. I hope the heck it comes through. But we're not against you. We're on your side. We're trying to fix it just as much as you are.
but I'm not going to sit here and let you just act like the city didn't own any lots down there. They didn't own any shares in the HOAs. They didn't have any ownership in the development company. The city owned within the widths of the public roads. And the city council for years has been leaning on and pushing on the developer because they've heard the complaints. They've agreed with you, but there's not a lever that the city had that they could go pull and just turn things around. And so that's where I'm taking a little issue with you is let's talk about solutions in the future, but there's not a lot of spankings the city can take down there because they haven't had any interest in any of what's going on, other than they were the land use body that had a duty under state law to consider that application 15 years ago. Sorry, Chairman, for interrupting your public
not at all.
hearing.
Hi, my name is Michael Kramer, and I am in construction right now in the homesteads. So I am right next to what 28 the resort is going to be. So I have a little bit of concern with the resort going in because originally that was going to be parks. I have 2 little ones. Parks would have been great. I know that there's other areas for the parks that have been trimmed down quite a bit. My other concern is the height increase from 35 feet to 60 feet. That's like a 5-story building. I don't know if that's the hotel. I don't exactly know where it's going to go or where that's going to apply to, if it's in 2A, 6 and 7, where the mixed high density is going to be now too. But I think a lot of the changes are great, and it should bring a lot of value to the community. It's just some of the aspects seem like they're focusing more on the high density and commercial and that stuff instead of the families that are already there. So that's all.
Thank you.
I'm Heidi Blair, and I live in the homesteads. I think some of the ideas are really good. My concern is the high density that's supposed to go just north of the ranch house. Now, what kind of density? I was a little confused on what the density, is it supposed to be like twin homes or?
We won't know what the product's going to look like until they come in for the approval of that. Right now, all this is to approve, to go, the changes that they've made to the development agreement. So, and they didn't change, it was always medium high density.
True. I know
So-
there were, at one time, there were supposed to be some condos off to the east of that area.
And it might be still, we don't know, because they're gonna come in and we will, when that comes, we'll see those in each.
At the time when that phase, you're talking about when that
Yes.
phase is
They'll
addressed.
bring plats in for the individual phases, and so the plats will show the nature and the type of the use.
Okay, and then also my other concern, some of it's the same as theirs, is that we seem to, well, even the other developer was doing some of it, but they, instead of finishing one area, where the areas that have all been started, like the homesteads and the crossroads and Meadows is done because they have their own HOA set up, but then all of a sudden we're jumping to a whole nother area and not everything's finished, probably to the point that it should be, like their retention pond that has the crossroads there's a lot of homes in there and that's never been finished. There's a lot of scrappiness. It's kind of and some of these homes are, there's different ranges in the price range. And if I were looking to move out there now, I can honestly say I wouldn't buy out there. I've been in the Stuckey Farms area, started in the Meadows since 2014. So I've been there a while and just have not seen, with the old developer and such, been pretty patient. But that's just my question, is why we can't maybe finish more of what we have. And I also would like to make a comment to you two that you didn't need to be so confrontational with these. All they were looking for was either point them in the right direction as to where they can get some help. And I don't think that was very well.
It was kind of
received.
confrontational towards us too. We were called out up here for something that was done 15 years ago
Yes,
that
I
nobody
realize
on this
that, but
board
it got
sat
very-
on.
it
But
was
nobody on
very
this board had
unnecessary.
anything to say.
And I'm going to stop at that. I
Thank
don't
you.
want it to continue.
Sir, did you have something?
Doug Martindale, Crossroads. My question is, at what point will the traffic be addressed? Do we have anything up there that shows us what the traffic is going to be with all of these, whatever, apartments, whatever? At what point do they address the traffic?
We usually require a traffic study.
I'm sure it's already done. It's in there and it'll be addressed and it'll be built to the standards and the roads will be built to the city standards and the state standards.
Okay. So what exactly are you approving tonight?
The change.
Or what?
So, sir, nothing is approved tonight. This body would make a recommendation to the city council. The city council would hold a subsequent hearing, would be the approving body. So this body is a recommending body, not an approving body.
Okay, I understand that. Okay.
Addressing the traffic is an interesting topic. The city has a traffic plan, and there's certain roads that are identified as arteries, others as neighborhood. The city will require that those get built to their classification. There's also a traffic study, which is just a traffic expert's best projections as to what future traffic loads will be. And that also helps classify what roads are what their classification will be.
Well, it should be coming. And I saw.
But until you have the lots built out and the properties there, you're not gonna know 100% precisely what your traffic scenario will be. That's not what I said. I just told you there was a study. I just told you there's been documents submitted. I just told you the city has classified those roads. No, I said that's when you know precisely what it'll be like. You can have a traffic engineer say that there will be 3,000 trips per day on this road, but that's hard to imagine or feel until it's actually happening.
No, I'll just add on, when they bring in this might help answer your question. When they bring in a master plan community, which Stuckey Farms is, part of the information they bring us is a thick book like this. Part of the requirement is that they do a tentative traffic study based on the number of units, and then you can see the streets are pre-laid out. That's part of their, that they have to, a requirement they have to meet. And so these main streets that you see here, the gray lines, Those are by their traffic engineer says, we have X amount of homes, which is going to be X amount of cars at given times. You know, there's engineers made just for traffic. And so they go to them and the guy will line it out, or girl, I don't want to be in, you know, either way. I just know who did this one. And they laid that out tentatively. So there is a pre-plan already. It's not after the fact, but when they come in for each subdivision, they have to then hit very specific about the number of homes, because we don't have them tell us exactly how many homes go in each village, but they have an overall number that they come close to. And sometimes it becomes, and almost every time in these master plan communities, it's actually less homes than what they projected in the beginning. I haven't had one that's gone the other way in almost 20 years here. So this is just to help you understand, traffic is kind of pre-done at a determination to where it fits in the box. Then we get very specific about how a road might be, or if a traffic signal might be required, or turn lanes, and all those specific things come with the specific design of each subdivision or commercial development. That's how it comes. Since they don't know right off, we don't have them do it up front. They give us a bubble that says, yes, X amount of homes are going to go in this 600-acre area. These roads can handle the traffic that would come on every project that we know is built. These roads will handle that traffic. Now the specifics come as each one's built out. Hopefully that answers what you're kind of going to, drilling down.
And if there was a situation,
I knew that's what you were going for, sorry. But I knew that's where, so it has been looked at, and we've accepted it, and we'll continue as each development happens. Go ahead, Thad.
if there was a situation where the traffic study said the traffic load's going to exceed the classification of these roads, then the city would either require that they reclassify and build the bigger road, or the city might say, look, we don't want that much traffic, so we're not going to give it an approval. But it's all been done. It's in this packet. We're not doing it after the fact, but it is true that you won't feel what that feels like in your neighborhood until things start to build out. Now, I hear you asking for build out. I hear you wanting stuff to get finished, but with that, you'll start to feel the traffic, right? You'll start to know what it's like to have those trips show up on your roads.
Thank you guys for your time. My name's Trevor. I actually live in the Warner Gateway development, which is just on the north end there of 12 Alpha. We've been there now for almost 4 years. One of the things that obviously when I was looking to move there was a concern of that vacant field behind us, potential for any kind of development. So seeing that proposal there, I had a little bit more comfort in seeing that the cottages were kind of what was planned there. It looked like it was going to be like 1 to 2 story residential overnight rentals, something like that. I think some of them are developed on that south end of Cattail right there, right now in the meadows. But it sounds like from what I've heard tonight, it's proposed to be bigger, maybe even multiple story condos. I just want to get clarification on heights of that. I think it said low rise, which is 1 to 4 stories. I could be wrong on that. So concern there with just, now having these massive townhomes back there. From what I saw in the plans, it looked like a lot of the units that were being added were going into that 12 Alpha area there. And so concerns about obviously some of the traffic and density, parking and so forth that may encroach into our area. And then my other question is, I'm a pilot. The airport's obviously right out there. Are these people going to know that a resort's right under the approach path? I mean, obviously I don't care, but is it going to be advertised as like, hey, come out here and you can watch the planes flying over? We know the traffic's increasing here in St. George. Has there been studies done on that airspace protection and those boundaries and that kind of stuff? Just curious on all that kind of stuff. And will it be advertised that, hey, by the way, also there's an airport out here? And from a pilot perspective too, the airport was out there before all the homes. So I would hate to see the airport also say it's curfew, no more flying, between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. or something, right? Because the airport was there first. So that's my kind of take on that aspect of things. Thank you.
I'll speak to the airport stuff real quickly.
I would say as far as the multi-stories, we won't know what any of that is until that place comes up for when that 12B comes in to be plotted and the designs and all that. That's when we will see what the the heights and all that stuff that come into there. But last week we had
The airport overlay zone.
airport overlay.
So you had said advertising, which I like the idea of that. The state doesn't trust that advertising will get to everybody. And so what we're required to do is every plat that comes in within the airport influence area will have a note on it that says your lots are within the airspace of an airport. That's probably on the plats for those of you that already exist there. If you went and pulled your plat, that note's probably already on it. There's also something called the airport overlay zone, which is a definition within state statute. That's a 5,000-foot circular curtilage from the runway. That area, the city has adopted a zone for. That area the city will require that landowners sell to the airport a navigation easement above their properties. It's state law that requires that the city require that. And so the two methods that the city is enforcing to give folks notice of the airport is looking at their plats and the notes on their plats that put their lots into existence. And then those that are within the overlay zone, the landowner will have to actually record an easement against that lot that says the airport has a perpetual right to conduct air flights over their airspace.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this?
Hello, my name's David Franz. I live in I live by 12A. I live in the original 11 cottages that are kind of like in the meadows and kind of caught in a limbo between whether we're in the meadows or whether we're in the cottages. And my question is just this. Who's responsible for enforcing the overnight rental laws? In other words, we're told that we're not overnight rentals, and now you're going to change all of 12A over to not overnight rentals, but I happen to know that doesn't seem to stop the overnight rentals. So who's responsible for enforcing that so that your neighborhood doesn't turn into a big giant size hotel?
So state law says that cities cannot cite nightly rentals by going to the nightly rental websites and finding them. And so the legislature has told cities that really the only way we can find out that they're being advertised, which is go to the VRBO and the different apps. We cannot use that as evidence in a citation proceeding against them. And so the city does have an enforcement arm. It's mostly complaint-based, so we need a neighbor that says, look, there was four buses parked there last night. Then we would need to go do an investigation and verify it was rented nightly through some other mechanism than the websites where they advertise and publish themselves, right? In HOAs have bigger and better teeth against this type of use than cities do. And so HOAs and cities are the two, I would say, levels of enforcement. Some HOAs don't want to get involved with that, but HOAs with their community covenants are the strongest teeth against it, and then cities can as well. Washington City has code about nightly rentals. The code calls them short-term rentals. And there's some areas where it can be authorized if they have the right zoning, and some other areas where they can't. If this gets approved and when it comes through at the later phases, there would need to be zoning attached that allows nightly rentals under the city's zoning schematic. Right now, there's not, but these proposals would need to then be put into effect through a zone designation. We've been informed that there will be a master HOA and then other HOAs within that would administer the codes and the covenants of the community. And so we've been under the impression that they would also help with, policing and administering whether people are nightly renting in the right places.
Thank you. The problem that I have, I've lived there 5 years, and we don't even have an HOA. We don't have any representation at all. And every time I try to find out what's going on, they just tell me that it's not 90% built out. So the developers are the HOA, and there's nobody you try to call, there's nobody to talk to, and nobody returns our calls, and we don't go to HOA meetings or It's just, we're just kind of like floating around out there untethered to anything, and we have nobody to, we go to the city says, go to the HOA, you try to get the HOA, no one will even talk to you. I don't even know who's considered our HOA, because no one will tell us anything. We can't get anything done out there. It's really frustrating, but thank you for your time.
So if this goes through, that'll be their new HOA.
Yeah, most of their gripes will be solved with a developer that's interested in completing the project. Of course, we've had some good comments about density in places that weren't. We've had some good comments about uses in places that maybe weren't anticipated when you bought or you built, and the city council will take those into consideration. But the city agrees that the prior developer was not anxiously engaged in completing phases. We agree that we've had two of the biggest building booms in the area during the time that he had development control and didn't finish things. The city agrees with you on all of those points. The city's had him in here and tried to get him to do things too. And so on that point, we have agreement. I don't agree that the city had any authority to go down there onto private property and start throwing sticks around. And so that might be where some of the comments and I have seen things differently. But this is a new developer. The city has gone through a long legal process with their attorneys and the city attorneys to make sure that development rights did transfer, that the authority to come in and do these things did transfer. The city has verified that. And there's a lot of positivity that the city's perceiving from a new development entity that invested a lot of money and then wants to finish it so they can make a return on that money. And so I think most of your complaints can and will be resolved. The city council and the city staff have talked with this developer about fixing the trails alongside the main roads, fixing the landscaping. And so we've had a lot of talks with them about a lot of the small details that many of you are referencing. And they've given us commitments that they're committed to making the neighborhood look top notch. These are developers that come from places like Traverse Mountain, where they've spent a lot of money every week making sure that the landscaping and the roads look really nice. And so the prior developer told the city council stuff like that too, though, right? And so you sometimes just have to roll with the coins that end up in your pocket. The coins have changed on this one, and I think that there's positivity there. I hope that you folks can at least see that there's a change of a horse, and hopefully that horse is a different one than what you've known.
With that, last call for public comment. Okay, I will close the portion of the public hearing. Do you guys have any other?
Do we want to hear from the applicant?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had any other questions before the applicant come up. Do you want to see if you can answer some of those?
Hi, McKay Christensen. I represent the owner and developer. I'm here also with Todd Amberry and Sean Colarusso, and Mike, who are also the owners. And I'll talk, and then Todd, and Sean, if you guys have anything you want to add, please come up. But thank you guys for the time. We appreciate you guys considering this. We've had, at the recommendation of the Planning Commission and the City Council, we had a meeting with the homeowners association, with the homeowners that live in the community, and maybe even some from the neighboring community. And what came out of that meeting is very similar to what you heard here today. And I don't want to misrepresent or misstate anything that's been said, but it sounded like to us coming out of that meeting, and what we hear tonight is that the bulk of the frustration is really over the landscaping that hasn't been done, right? You've got a lot of stuff along Washington Fields Boulevard. You've got a detention basin that's along there. You have stuff along Stuckey Farms Parkway that has not been completed and finished. And we understand that, and we are 100% sympathetic to it. What I can say is this, is that, and Thad, we appreciate the vote of confidence. Between the owners here, we have a significant amount of development experience. We have done master plan communities just like this that are 3 and 4 times this size. We understand the investment that has to take place into a community like this and what needs to be done in order to hold and maintain the values of the homeowners that live there, while we're also creating value in the phases and developments that we do. Part of the reason why we're here, probably the real reason why we're here, is because the property languished for about 20 years, right? It began in 2006, and for about 20 years, only 300 homes were sold, right? That's rough. That's rough. And we love the group, the people that we bought it from. We think that they're wonderful, wonderful people. I just don't know that they had maybe the drive or the vision to see some of the development through. And there's a lot of reasons why that didn't happen.
Have you actually bought it, or are you still under?
Oh no, yeah, we've purchased it. Yeah, we've purchased it.
I've verified all that.
Yeah, we've purchased it. And so, but that's also part of the story, because the challenge that really lies before us is the reason why we're here today. We need a PCD amendment because we have to change the narrative about what this place is. We've got to rebrand, we've got to regroup, and we've got to make a massive investment into the community to see it turned around. It's just a fact. What you see up on the board today and what we're asking for is a representation of that. It's us coming in and saying, in order for us to build commercial, we need anchors. In order for us to drive traffic, we need anchors. In order for us to be able to sell homes, we need amenities. There are things that we have added here that we know that we can deliver on, we know that the market can bear, and they are things that we believe will help reshape and rebrand what Stuckey Farms is into Alea. And by doing that, there's no way that we can leave the rest of the development behind, right? There's no way that we can do that, finish and develop everything that we have going forward and leave Washington Fields undone. It just, that's the entrance coming from the north into our community. We don't want it, we can't afford to do it. With all of the money and everything that we are going to invest in this community, we can't afford to leave that undone. Now, what I would say is that I can't commit to what, I don't think any of myself or my partners can commit today on exactly what that timing is going to be. We're not going to kick the can down the road for years and years and years, but by doing any development, there's a trough that you go through. You have the acquisition and you've got to develop and you have to work and invest and invest and invest in order to turn it around. And so we can commit that we absolutely will do that. When that will happen, we're going to have to chip away at it piecemeal as we go. I can say that one of the, we went through the phasing plan earlier. If we can get things jump-started, that phasing plan will accelerate. There's no doubt about it. We plan on, as soon as we're done here, we will come in with plats on Village 4, on Village 27, on 12B. We hope to have a lot of those things in by March of next year. If we get those things in by March of next year, the lakes will all be in, the lagoons that are in and around Village 4. That lagoon is already basically completed. Water will start being filled in that in short order, and we'll begin landscaping that and putting a trail in. The trail, in fact, is already in. And so you'll start seeing bits and pieces of things that are right on your guys' border being finished, and you'll start to see the value of your homes increase. And we'll start remedying a lot of the things that need fixing. Speaking on...
This is Sheil. I'll just interrupt you for just 1 minute. I appreciate what you're saying. I do believe in you. I think you can do it. I think the residents would feel a lot more confident if you had a list of items that are items that they're concerned about. And if you put some equipment out there to take care of some of those concerns, I think they'd love you.
Okay.
And that would go a long way.
I think that's great. I think it's great advice. In fact, after we, and my partners can attest to this, after we met with the homeowners, we sat down over not that exact map, but the map right below it, and we marked out with a marker exactly the areas that need to be improved. It included Washington Fields Road, that section that's completely undone, the detention basin that's connected to it.
You bring it up really nice. You have a nice vocabulary. You talk really strong about it, but let's show some action.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Fair enough. 12, Village 12. Commissioner Bullock, you're right. We won't know exactly what that's going to be until we make an application. I can say this, what we have made an effort to do is to pull the nightly rentals away from the neighboring neighborhoods, everything that's been built. The previous development really had approved, I want to say somewhere between, I thought it was somewhere between 300 and 400 total nightly rentals in that area. We have 200, and I think Eldon, it was 250 something, and those have moved over to Village 4 and away from the border of the other properties and down closer to the farmhouse. And so we've made a concerted effort to move all of that stuff away, which we thought that the neighboring homeowners would be happy about. Is there anything else that you guys want to cover that we?
Oh, jeez. My leg was asleep. Been sitting there too long. Whew. Good thing I didn't go down. I just want to address your comment. I know everyone here has. Oh, my name is Todd Amberry. I apologize. I understand everyone's concerns. We feel the same way. Obviously, we invested a significant amount of money. I'm going to talk more to them just because I know you guys are really concerned about it. We invested a significant amount of money in this community, and as McKay mentioned, that's the front door to the community, right? It makes absolute sense. To Commissioner Shields' comment, he wants some action. The only thing that we want you guys to understand is it's not as simple as going out there and bringing an excavator and planting some trees. And the reason that is because there's a process to it, and the PCD comes first. So the PCD is really, this plan is reorganizing where everything's at, right? It's moving the lakes together, it's shifting where things are at. Yeah, there's 165 additional units. We can talk about that, significant, but it's reorganizing it. The second piece of that is once we get to that level, we have a very famous landscape architect out of Denver who's been working through landscape plans. Once the PCD is approved, assuming it gets approved, then that landscape architect who's already been engaged, who's already put together monumentation designs, landscape theming, even planting plans, will come in and do an overlay of this entire project, including Washington Fields Road. And so there's a process to it, because what I'm trying to convey is if we went in there and planted some trees today, they're all getting ripped out, and it's not going to do anyone any good. And so we're really trying to do this right. And there's a significant investment that needs to be put there, but we want to do it right. And so to say, hey, we'll be out there tomorrow and we'll throw some trees in is a disservice to the community. It's a disservice to you guys when we have a really big vision for it, and it's going to look amazing. And you guys are going to see that through the process. This will go to the city council. After the city council will come back for plats. You'll see specific landscape plans, and that will all go in as part of that process. So hopefully that helps clarify and gives some
and
texture.
I agree with you, and I think you will. You're pretty pregnant because you've closed on the property. So my suggestion is to go out and clean up those weeds, clean up that detention pond.
Oh, yeah, no, that's no problem.
And
that wasn't what I was just referring to the actual
give them
landscape
confidence
plan.
that you're really going to do it.
Yeah, no problem. And we're happy to do that. All we were saying is the finished product with the landscape plan, we want to make sure we do it right? We don't want to just haphazardly go in there and, stick a couple of Home Depot trees in there. So.
Pretty blunt. I'm sorry.
I love it.
But anyway, that's what I am.
Where, can you tell us where the 165 extra units are coming into what units?
So it's a mix. As Eldon said, we'd have to go through each phase and do the math. I mean, really, it wasn't intentional to stick it one place or another. That was mixed between it. And really what we were trying to do is look at where should the density be. A significant portion of the density is 13, 14 on that east side of Washington Fields. And then it's more lower density, medium density residential. And then you've got a little bit more around the village. I would say if I had to guess, it's probably in Village 28, but it's probably not all there, Brandy.
I'd just say, really what we did is we came up with a concept plan. We came up with a concept plan that we knew that worked and that we can deliver on. And we designed it really without that in mind. And so, like Todd said, we'd have to layer that over the top of the previous plan to see where it got picked up. I don't know exactly. What we do know is this works.
Yeah, I'd hate to see it all go into like 12, all into area 12.
12
right,
actually has stayed the same.
Okay, I'm just saying, I mean, disperse it throughout the whole thing is not, like Eldon was saying, it's really not that much, but if you throw it into 165 units into 12 or 13 or whatever one, that's a lot right there, and that's what I was wondering, is make sure it just didn't all go into one.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to step in because it's right here on the map. If you just look on here between 6, 7, 14, and 13, I would say that this area, that these little brown units, versus these empty lots. Those are actually kind of a townhome. I think you'll see the majority of them, which is in a place you want them to be, right along Washington Fields Road. That's where you want to put your higher density. I think everybody in the room would agree. And I hope you're okay with me saying, because that's what it looks like after,
100%.
again, I've been looking at Stuckey Farm for almost 20 years, right? And the frustrations you feel as well, and the time it's taken. But I can see in 14, this east edge of 6 and 7, it's probably going to consume it. Probably, I would say 75% of that 165 you're going to see in those three areas that wouldn't have been on the original plan. When you go back to Village 6 and 7, that's where they're going to pick up a lot of those. 12, 12A and B are going to, I think, they're going to wash out compared to what we expected from the original to what we are now. There might be a few more in there, but not a great, but that's where you can take it, right? And that's why I like the buffer in 12A not being a vacation rental, but just seeing those units different. But after looking at the project over, and you got a few more high densities here, but again, that's off of the road. If that helps in your thinking, because that's where I would say most of it's going to end up being is in 6, 7, and 14, and right off of Washington Fields Road.
I'm happy to see the vacation rentals not be in 12A. I like that. I like that it's away from the existing homes and whatnot, and moving it down. Even though it was originally that way, I think this is a better design. So.
Any other questions?
I have a question for Drew, sorry. What's the maximum building height for this zone?
Just city standard?
Mm-hmm.
Our commercial is 45. Our multifamily is 42. But I can tell you right now, the city council's awarded height waivers. Well, I think probably 5 or 6 for some higher development lately, which they can do on a one-on-one situation. And so people have come in and been awarded that, have getting, like some of the hotels we've done have actually been in the 50s. You've seen, some of those. In fact, they usually get their height waiver before they come get their CUP. And as you probably are aware, we always make note, this has already been through city council, received the height waiver at 50, whatever, because we've had most of them come in about 50 to 55 on those. They're just asking for it up front in the PCD for those, which is good. Again, we actually did the same thing in Sienna Hills. We went and they actually have higher heights than the average that are already in their PCD. They were awarded that, they amended it, and we're given that.
For this project, it's at what, 42?
These ones, let's go back. I'm going to find that chart. And I'm going to try to zoom in here on some of the height. This row over here is your heights. And so we're looking at, you can see some of these are at 60, but that's in the condo hotel. They're just asking to get those up at 60 again. 5 more feet than the last 3 hotels we've done. I don't feel uncomfortable with that. And
that's in the resort area.
Yeah, you're looking at the condo and hotel area. That's where those 60 foots, they're going to be 5-story, but they're in what we have been normally giving to those developments that come in and ask for that height waiver. Some of these others are at 40. I'm trying to just pick out some of these. They're following the standard in the regular homes and the residential, the mixed use. They're hanging there at the 35 to 50 on commercial. Professional office at 50. Again, that just means they're going to build a higher, and they only have one. I think, Harry, you're doing that anyway, right? Village 26, and that's on that main intersection coming over from there for professional office. Again, we didn't have any issues there. Then these others, again, around the commercial and professional offices. So that's where it's happening. All the rest of the residential is what we allow anywhere in the city. So again, yeah, it stood out to me right out. I'm going, well, wait a minute. I've just sat here through 4 and 5 or 6 height waivers that the city's granted in the last couple of years. I'm going, that's really not out of line with what we've already been handing, and I shouldn't say handing out, but, approved to go to. So does that help answer that for you? And
Thank you very much.
So Commissioner, there's our zone code height waivers that are all defined within the zone designation. Just because one of the residents brought it up tonight. There is also a Federal Aviation Administration height limit, but it's at 350 feet, and none of our zone codes even closely approximate that. And so the zoning that gets approved for this plan will be the base law on height maximums. Need to submit for any waivers beyond that.
And if I may just add, those heights ones that we just talked about are over here in Village 28 in the resort, but mostly 26 right here at that main intersection, Village 13 right here, and 14. So which are sandwiched in between Highway 7 and Washington Fields Road, which is going to be our number 2 or 3 busiest road in our city when all things pan out. You know, that road, Telegraph, and this one are going to be our 3 major thoroughfares, and then 3090 up there, or George Washington Boulevard will end up being probably number 3 or 4. But those are your main roads, and that's where you want your densities and your heights. If you're gonna have them, those aren't bad places to put them.
So this is Commissioner Mitchell, and I'll just kind of share some of my thoughts that have come. I think we all realize and we see the changes, and I think it's in, it's not just in our community, but throughout the nation, just the shift in the type of housing that is being built because of the affordability. And that may be the reasoning why this development has kind of came to a standstill. We have a new developer come in with some new ideas and a fresh plan and a current market analysis, and says that, hey, this potentially is going to fill this space, it's going to beautify it, it's going to finish it out. I'm for the change. I feel like that they brought a great plan. I am mindful of the current residents, and we have read through all of the comments that were made, and we listen. It is frustrating, I think, to live in an area where nothing's going to happen. Maybe there is a little bit more density here, but that's kind of the nature of where we're at with the market and the affordability of a home in today's terms. So I like the new plan. I'd like to see it happen, and the sooner the better.
I'm with you. I like the new plan. I just want them to take pride in ownership. They own it. So let's clean it up. A clean house is a happy house. Sorry. Did you hear me in there, Bonnie?
Yes, I did hear you.
I know in prior developments, we required them to finish amenities by a certain percentage. Are we going to do something like that?
So the prior development agreement did not have an amenity phasing plan. That's certainly something the city council can require. If you have recommendations, I think that's part of your role tonight.
I think what we've been requiring for other developments have been by 50% build out, that all of the amenities are done.
Yeah, but we don't know what the punch list is,
If I may just tag on to that, and I'm not trying to point, that's usually in PUDs. We've had very stressful, not stressful, but we've stressed that point on a PUD, which is a smaller development, like just a singular townhome project. We make sure those amenities are in. With all of these big master planned areas, we really haven't, had them do that. I'm just pointing that out for informational purpose on that. I'm glad you asked the question, but we have been more poignant on a PUD having that amenity at a certain point, not so much on master plan PCDs.
Is that an option for a master plan?
Yeah, if you want to, your council can, if they feel inclined, you can throw a recommendation. Again, never feel like you as the commissioners can throw whatever you'd like toward the council, and they can either say, that's a great idea, or they're going to say, I appreciate it, but in this case, we may not. They always have that option, right? So if you feel inclined as a group to do it, go ahead. I'm not saying you can't do it. That's not what I'm not trying. Just want to clarify, as a city, we've been very on PUDs importantly pulling out those amenities, but it's a singular project. And we might even on these, when they come in for a specific one, if there's an amenity, we may tag that on to their specific approval, you know.
The PCDs are memorialized in a development agreement between the developer and the city. And so you're talking about a term that could be included in there or from this body recommended to be included in there. And perhaps your insight can help the city council know, you know, how and where to draw lines of, you know, expectations of completion. And so 100% it's doable in a PCD. I think the hardest part with the really bigger master plan communities is where to draw lines and when, right? But again, that's part of your role is, you know, to perceive what the community would want and recommend to the city council of how to achieve that.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Mitchell, just a thought. I feel like in a development similar to this, those amenities will be part of the selling point, right? So a developer is going to have to weigh that. Obviously, the amenities are attractive to a buyer, and I'm sure that comes into play. And so amenities may come at the right time as it develops. Not to say that we can't try with some recommendations, but I just feel like marketing a development, it'll happen.
You remind me on the farmhouse that exists today, wasn't that one where the city council applied pressure to the developer and said, look, we're not going to give you any more plat approvals until you get this thing built?
We came to a point toward the end, that's what we had to do on that specific piece. But, and it's ironic that here we're talking about one of the best examples, if you don't build the amenities, that things do not move. That's the original Stuckey Farms, right? They didn't put in the amenities that they promised all these folks in the beginning, and the project drug. You know, I'm not trying to point a finger, but it's just, it is history. It showed us that it just did not. If it would have had more amenities, would the project be far along? I bet, you know, my life savings probably, it would have been a lot farther along. And I think these guys know that. They're already in that business to know that some of those amenities are going to draw their people to the cells and to make it that way. So we're going to see maybe one of the examples what not to do, and hopefully I'm banking a lot on of how to do it to find the success in that. So
I would just be more comfortable with something added, even though I'm sure.
Which amenities, Commissioner, are you thinking about? That might help the city council also to hear what your thoughts are as to which amenities that you'd like to see.
I guess it's such a big project. We have to. Oh, I guess it's such a big project that it's kind of hard to pinpoint, you know, at what point, and especially since with the number of phases that are in this project, it doesn't necessarily move in consecutive, you know, the numbers. They could jump from 27 to 2 to 13 to 12. So it's just kind of hard. I would just like to see the amenities done before the entire project is completed.
I think we'll be able to attach that when it comes in for the certain pods or whatever you want to call them. Like Zone 12 is going to have to come in for its own plat. And if there's amenities in there, well, this has to be done, you know, before we'll approve the next one.
Okay.
So
That sounds
I
reasonable.
mean, that's what we've done in the past with it's
Yeah, and I
with the
agree- I
PUDs
agree.
inside of that, basically, is what it is.
That's how it'll happen. I think you're onto something, though, that before they, or in the process of developing the first phase, which may not be I don't know if they're going to start with phase 1 or phase 5, but whatever phase they start with, they need to do this detention pond cleanup and clean up the heaved concrete and the punch list that the neighbors have. That's kind of what I think. I don't know how you voice that.
But I think we'll be able to put teeth in it when it comes time for the first one to come available.
You just did, Commissioner.
You know what I'm saying? I think
and again, they've talked about Village 4 is going to come soon. Does that mean that the ponds, Brandy, or some of you guys listening, the ponds around Village 4 are going to be with your proposal on Village 4? Those will be finished? Is that what I'm hearing? You'll get this amenity right here, these two ponds, right? With Village 4 that you're going to bring in one of your first ones. And Village 12 is going to be a first one. I think it'll come in. I mean, and yes, I thought you did. So I would just throw a little bone that I would look at this little area right here off of the, this green area, whatever that's going to be. Throw that in your proposal as part of Village 12, which I don't think is a big ask. And then you were going to Village 27. Are these ponds coming in with those? Okay, those are three of the big, I think that helps answer a little bit, because that's, I think they were heading to anyway right off the bat. So we'll be seeing this little lake area, this lake with this village and that. I hope that covers kind of where you were heading.
You just wanted the pickleball courts.
Well, let me take a stab at this. This is Sheil. I would move that I don't know where we even start at.
And
Recommend that request to amend the Stuckey Farms Planned Community be approved and forwarded to the city council with the stipulation that on or before the approval of the first phase they present, that the roadways, the heaved concrete, the detention pond, and weeds are cleaned up in the neighborhoods that surround this property.
The new name in, you referenced Barnes, but they want to, I'm just trying to get it on the record that you're approving with the name change as well.
And we also approved the name change to Alaya. Thanks for saying that.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
I got a first from Schill and a second from Tupou. Commissioner Schill.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Tupou.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I'm an aye as well. This will go to City Council with a recommendation of approval. When this comes, the pods come, you guys will be notified again. Come back, see what's going on, pay attention, let us know if things aren't going the way they are. That way we will have, so that we can also know to keep things moving
Will
the right way.
they be notified within that
Depends on the radius.
circle? Yeah, the radius.
Yeah, it depends on the radius of where it is.
Further,
but-
on the preliminary plats, they will, but normally this would be going to city council the following week, a planning commission, but there's this thing next week called Thanksgiving that we don't dare do on a Wednesday night. We did that once, never do it again. It's so December 11th, it'll be on their agenda. You feel free to come, but it'll be heard by the council December 11th.
No public hearing there.
Public hearing, it's just a public meeting. Just so you know, that's where it'll go next, okay? And I do apologize if anybody's offended. I wasn't trying to. I just took, because I personally went out there and made sure guys were yanking weeds out of the ground. And they filled up that trailer quite a few times and hauled it off. So, yeah, and yours too. And we appreciate all that you do too. When citizens join in and you don't get credit for it, thank you. I will thank you for going out and taking care of your neighborhoods. That's awesome. So thank you.
I'll look for an adjournment.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we adjourn.
Sheil, I second.
I got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. All right, welcome to the Land Use Authority meeting for the November 20th, 2024. We will look for an approval of the agenda.
Commissioner Tupou, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
This Shield, I second.
Have a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Approval of the minutes from the November 6th, 2024 meeting.
I would move that we approve I'm plugged in. This Shield, I move that we approve the minutes from the November 6th, 2024 Land Use Authority meeting.
This is Mitchell, I second.
Have a first and second, all in favor? Aye. So, item 4A is a preliminary plat approval for the vineyard at Aaliyah subdivision located at approximately Washington Fields Road and Red Slopes Parkway.
Commissioner, can I just make one quick comment on this item? Under the recent land use laws passed by the legislature in the last session, the Land Use Authority is a new body that is given sole approval authority for residential plats, which this item would be that. It is proposed that there be a consideration to approve a preliminary plat for the vineyard at Aaliyah. And because you were all sitting wearing different hats last meeting, you're aware that that has not yet, Aaliyah is not yet in existence and hasn't been considered by the city council. So I would just say that it's probably improper for you to take a final vote on this tonight unless and until the city council has actually approved that. So since the applicant's people are here, I would say have the discussion, work through the issue, and then decide what you want to do on a vote.
Thank you. You guys good with that?
Yes.
I'll circle back and speak to that after here. Maybe I'll just start off with that. We did discuss the names. If we wanted to change the name, we recognized that it didn't meet. We added condition on there that the name must match prior to final plat approval. We felt with these preliminary plat entitlements, we felt okay moving through with that. If the Aaliyah name does not get approved, they would come back and file a name change for this pre-plat so that it did match by the time they needed to get that recorded. This particular subdivision is proposing 173 units on an area covering 31.42 acres. This is a 5.5 density unit per acre ratio. Density designation at this location is PCD, and the surrounding zoning is PCD to the northeast, west, and C3 to the south. The proposal includes 108 single-family homes and 65 townhome units. The project is broken into 4 phases. All of the townhomes will provide a minimum of a 2-car garage, with 17 of the units providing 3-car garages. All of the driveways will be a minimum of 18 feet wide and 20 feet long, and the proposal includes 11 designated visitor parking stalls. The residents will have access to the larger amenities, and Phase 4 will provide approximately 1 acre of open space amenity to include a play area, a walking path around the perimeter, playground, and a pavilion. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances as it relates to this location. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval with the conditions of the preliminary plat as outlined. That concludes staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't know yet.
So Commissioner Mitchell, the only question I've got maybe is that clarification where it feels like what we just went through in the last meeting still has to go to city council. how do we,
Name is
how do we handle,
So the only.
how do we approve something that hasn't been
The only thing interpretation for tonight is the name. Everything else is in line with the current Stuckey Farms PCD. The only thing that is not in line is the name of density, layout, all matches and in line. And
With the
that's why
current-
we felt okay, or, yeah, to move forward. And added that condition that if the name is not approved, that they would have to come back and amend the name on this pre-plat to match.
But we also, in our motion or recommendation. Oh,
our motion.
no.
No, on the last one.
In the last meeting, we suggested that before we approved anything in Alea, that there's going to be some work completed on faults in the neighboring community. And so I don't think we've seen any of that. So I think we need to relax just a little bit, see some action, and then get it approved by city council.
Can we set those recommendations that were mentioned in that previous, and apply it to the approval of this?
Like a condition of approval
Condition of approval that,
before
Set your-
plat is,
You could set your own conditions on this plat. I think you've got two issues with this one, and the first is just that the name Alea does not exist in Washington City as an approved project. And is the city council has been recommended to approve a PCD amendment, and you don't know what the city council is going to do precisely with phases and densities, right? And so I agree with Eldon. We don't suspect that if you approve this tonight, that what the city council does, we don't think those will be in conflict. But there is the possibility that they could be in conflict, I guess is what I'm saying. And if I were on the city council, I might maybe have a feeling about a preliminary plat getting approved on a PCD that they haven't even seen yet, right? And so I think you just got those issues, those layers that you hold the mantle to kind of resolve. But yeah, I agree with everything Eldon said. Eldon and I talked about this. How do we handle this? How do we help them, try and keep the progress that they're trying to, the people ask for progress, and here they're trying to do it, and we're slowing them down a little bit, right?
they'll go.
And so it's not an easy dance, but yeah, in this case, the plat is talking about something that hasn't yet been put into existence by the city council.
So I'm curious, I guess, to see what the feelings are for the applicant. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so as Thad mentioned, obviously we would love to get it approved. We need to get it approved tonight. And so, we view it as, because it fits under the old PCD, we hope that under the old PCD that it can be approved under the old PCD. I think one of the things that we certainly can do as a part of this plat is, for example, all along Washington Fields Road, right there along the border of that property, and then going up what we call, what is that? Right now it's called Red Slopes or something like that. We will certainly put in all of the landscaping and everything that needs to be done along that part of the road, so you don't end up with the same type of scenario that you do along Washington Fields Road, where you have a subdivision that's going in with no landscaping. We have no problem doing that on any of our developments going forward. That's the way that we're kind of accustomed to doing it. And so, we can commit that that's absolutely what we plan to do for this plat, is that when we develop it, it's going to have, on all sides of those major boulevards, it's going to have landscaping on there.
Commissioners, maybe you could describe it in the alternate preliminary plat vineyard at Stuckey Farms and/or preliminary plat vineyard at Alea. So you're just giving it both descriptions.
I mean, we certainly don't care about the name per se.
Well, you care about the name, but you don't want the name to hold up progress,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
And the name is important. Ultimately, that name Alea will be a significant part of your marketing and just the identity of the project.
Now, just a question, from a marketing standpoint, it will be Vineyard at Alea, right? Like, we can market this any way that we want. From a plat standpoint, it's gonna have the name of the plat, at Stuckey Farms on the plat.
So if we wanted to be just nitty-gritty technical, we'd call it preliminary plat vineyard at Stuckey Farms tonight, and the plat would say that, and you could call it whatever you wanted. There's a lot of plats where even the numbering for the parcel is different from what they've ultimately called it. Brandy, you've probably seen a few of those over the years.
I mean, we would be totally fine with that.
Yeah, I think the cleanest, if you're okay with it, to call it the Vineyard at Stuckey Farms, because that's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah, exactly.
And then
I
we just
agree.
do a preliminary plat amendment, the name change.
Sorry. Brandy Walker, Civil Science. I've been really quiet. You guys are killing it tonight, doing great. What we're doing right now, we have Water's Edge in your guys', it's approved, it's under construction. It's that northern portion of 6 and 7 you saw in the light pink phase 1. But it's under the name of Stuckey Farms. And so we've been waiting to file the final plat because it's gonna have to come in with a name change application. So the city does have an application that we can file that changes the name without requiring a plat amendment. And
That's
that
true,
one's
yeah.
gonna come in together. We're just waiting for the Alea to happen, and then we'll file that. So what we're trying to avoid, though, is a contractor is currently out there working on a grading permit under this name. We got construction drawings under this name. Now we're gonna have a final plat under a different name. So for consistency, that's why we came in with Alea up front, is to avoid a name change. But I get where you're going, but you do have an application for a name change.
But you're okay with calling it Vineyard at Stuckey Farms tonight and just doing that? That's, I think
so.
that's what the crux of the matter is, and you're comfortable. We can file the application. I forgot we had that in there because we don't use it that often.
Yeah. We're trying to avoid doing it, but we can't.
So I think staff's okay with that. Again, it meets the current standards of Stuckey Farm.
There's a current PCD.
That was my biggest concern, so.
So there's a current agreement, a development agreement. The applicant acquired all of the development rights under that agreement, and so the city council approved that years ago. That could happen. All of that's been done in the proper order. The land use authority could vest a preliminary plat under the Stuckey Farm development agreement, PCD. And so, yeah, that could happen, and then we could change the name when it's needed.
Well, like we were talking about it, Commissioner Dupo was saying about having amenities in before X amount. This is where we would do it.
You've got an amenity area right here.
That's what I'm saying. There's an amenity in this one. This is where we would put the stipulations on. You can only have so many homes built in this phase until this is done. You can go up to here and then this. This is where those stipulations come in.
More appropriate
Yeah, rather than the whole
appropriate to a
thing.
preliminary plat than a monster
Right.
PCD.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And we can also fix the retention with this one as well. You could attach that to it and get the retention.
Well, this has its own retention pond over in the corner that you
Yeah,
see.
but it's part of the other retention ponds. Didn't we have an issue with the other one that they were talking about? That I've been hearing about all night?
Do they have grading permits? Have they got?
Working on that. That's what they were just saying. They're working on those right now, which is, I don't mind them doing. That's their due diligence to be prepared. Because again, to move dirt, you got to have that whether you build or not. So they're working on those right now, getting those CDs approved, it sounds like. So
there's a number of basins in the master community out there. I don't know if this one on this plat is the one they were referencing tonight.
No.
I believe it's one of the bigger ones that's farther south, but.
Farther south or farther north? This looks like it's at the very south end of this.
It's north of this.
This is
Show
the
where it
south.
lies on that development that we just went through.
Locate where this is at.
It's down in the southern portion, but
You got it up right there. They just want to see it on that one, yeah.
It's right here, Village 7's down at the southern, you can see it on the old, right down here, if you see there you go. And then it's right here, but it's been flipped 90 degrees, so.
Farmhouse.
Farmhouse is up here where this green area is.
So a lot of the frontage that was.
It's at the far end of the,
Basin that got
they're talking about Village 4.
The basin that they're talking to tonight, Drew, is the Crossroads tip top corner.
Okay.
That's when I was just pointing that up here. It's on the north end of Village 4. Now, how close are you having that finished? Because I know you're close to having that done, right? Those ponds?
Yes.
How close are you?
Should be filling.
It's all been designed out, it's just, there you go. And there will be landscaping around it, it's coming at the time?
That will come with 4.
Okay, and I think that's all right to that.
You're really pregnant, so let's help these poor residents.
You got a new
just don't have
grandbaby coming or
triplets, we've got
something? Is
twins.
that, you got a new grandchild in the,
No, I'm just, I don't know a better way to say it.
What's the quote? The first pregnancy can come anytime, the next one will be in 9 months. So you never know.
I don't want to wait another 9.
We don't have a problem including the.
Can you talk into the mic so they can get it on?
Yeah, we certainly don't have a problem finishing the amenity space in that village.
I just think it's given us a black eye for what we did in the last meeting to approve this. That's how I feel.
Even if we're saying that the amenity space that goes in Village 7 will be installed with Village 7?
I think,
said on or before is what I motioned.
no, not Village 7. He's talking about the retention basin and the sidewalks and all the stuff.
Yeah, all of the
At the
existing.
north end. At the north end is where you were talking about.
I'm
not-
talking about.
Well, there's nothing on this one. There's nothing on this one. There's no,
I think Commissioner Shu was just talking in general, broken sidewalks, thing, not specifically in areas I remember as he, so that's why I don't think everybody's seeing that. It's just generally like to see some good faith stuff going. You've already know that and we're working
Well,
on it. So.
and hopefully we get credit for the, roughly 6.5 acre lagoon that we've put in. I mean, that's an expensive.
This area right here by 4.
And that's gone in right now and will be being filled. And that has a trail, a 10-foot asphalt trail that's already completely installed. So, I mean, I think.
But that's what I was.
This is where the lady was talking about. She lives right here in the crossroads. This is the area she wanted to see some stuff happening.
But if you'd have put some lipstick on their problems, they'd have been happy. And that's what I'm trying to do.
And Commissioner Shield, we understand that. For us, when you talk about us being pregnant, we're pregnant with twins, which means we start deep, meaning financially we're deep. And so that's why we mentioned to him, look, we're going to solve, we just can't do it all. We can't do it all today. That's right. You are the grandpa with shotgun. I'm not going to kiss the girl tonight, or just take her out and bring her back. Okay. So like I said, hopefully we get a little bit of credit for what we're doing with the lagoons around 4. We are bringing in for within, like, we want to have it in January, or no, in. Yeah, we pumped the brakes. So it'll be in December, and then hopefully on the agenda for you guys in January, which you'll have an opportunity to go through that and see it. And then as we jump over to 7, what we're saying is we do have a node in there of open space, which will be developed at the time that we do that.
I guess the thought I've got too is you're going to drive by some of those concerns that those residents have to get to 7, because a lot of that frontage, Primrose, is the eyesore that we see when you drive currently to get to 7. 7's on the south end, you're still going to pass. So I'm kind of mixed. Like I am, still feeling the frustration of the current homeowners wanting to see what's been done, beautified before we add. But I want to see this all happen. I want to see it all go. So it's like.
They got to start turning the nickel.
You got to do something sometime.
We do, that's a wonderful way of putting it. We do need to start turning a nickel and on before we continue to dig bigger holes. And so that's why, again, these are problems that we absolutely will solve with the homeowners, but we can't do, honestly, we can't do it all at once. Village 4, just so you're aware, landscaping around the lakes and doing all of that, I can't remember exactly what the cost of the lakes were. Sean, do you remember what the cost of the lakes and the?
Well, I don't know if we care.
Well, now wait a minute, you ought to, because those are helping all the homeowners on the other side of that lake.
But we understand that you've dumped a grundle of money out here. We understand that. We just want a little bit of that money, piggy bank, over to help these things.
Well, the reason why Village 4 works is because we'll take out a development loan, which we do on all of our developments, and our bank will not allow us to do improvements on a property they don't hold collateral to.
Can I just propose something? Just a thought. Todd Amberry, still pregnant. What if we just make it really simple? And again, to McKay's point, we have to be very careful with what's being developed with what. But what if we just, I know you guys want timing, everyone wants timing. What if we just tied it to like first certificate of occupancy? So you can't really get a house, you can't get a CO on a house in Village 7 until the cleanup is done. That way you have a timeline, we know what it is. It allows us to do the development in Village 4, it allows us to do the improvements on the road, and you can do the landscaping once the landscaping plans are done. But at least you have a definitive timeline and you can't build or sell a home until. And I guess I'm just trying to be clear. We're talking about the cleanup along Washington Fields and the detention pond as you come in on the north, right?
Yes.
Is it just the cleanup? You're just wanting it?
Yeah, they want it cleaned
Just
up.
to clean up.
They've suggested there's heaving concrete.
Yeah, what if we just, I'm just saying, let's just pick a date that we can tie this to and say, hey, you can't have a CO on any home in Village 7 until all that cleanup is done. That way, we know what it is. There's time, again, we want to get the landscape plans done. We'd rather do it all at one time, but it's a definitive timeline. It's the quickest timeline that's up.
That is a good point. Like we did mention cleanup. We didn't specifically say landscape. So I do think if there is some cleanup, the tumbleweeds are gone, heaving in concrete.
Yeah, that's no problem.
And then the landscape will come as the development progresses. I'm good with that personally.
I mean, that's what I was saying. We can tie it to this one right here. I don't care what it is, but tie it to this one.
Yeah, we're just saying.
Get you guys moving and get you going, but still, hey, we got to get this done by the 5th house or the 10th house.
That's
or the
what
second
I'm
house.
even willing to go 5th house rather than first.
Oh, wow. We'll take the 5th.
What?
Yeah,
Shield, what do you?
No, we understand, but we want to tie it to something so that
we get that. So that's why I'm just trying to propose something that's with concrete that we can all tie it to.
It's not consistent.
Got you. So we would need.
So what we would rather, from some of the staff feedback, instead of issuance of the CO, which is the last administrative step, if you would tie it to the issuing of the permit. So maybe say, don't issue a permit for the 6th unit, or whatever your line is, right? First unit, if you're wanting it done before the first one, because there's a process between the issuance of the permit and occupancy, maybe you push it back in a few units, right? So that they can get going on something.
Cleanup, I feel like, is not that complicated.
No, we're good with that.
Like some of that can happen with that development of 7.
Yeah, and it's just the cleanup, I think, would suffice a bunch of them and show good faith, and I mean, they're all gone now. They don't care anymore, but.
Yeah, we're good with it.
Well, I mean, you got to give them a little bit. I mean,
There's a
going in
detention pond, there's weeds, there's heaved concrete. We don't know what it is, because I haven't driven out there. I don't know if you've driven out there and noticed these things.
I've been through it a time or two.
I hope.
You understand their complaints?
Yeah. I mean, we think we do. Obviously, we can sit with them again and we can go through the list. I think everyone's got their own personal preference as to what they'd like to see.
Oh, they do.
So I think we need to be a little bit reasonable with that. But yeah, look, we drive through the community, we think it looks terrible. Like, it looks atrocious. So of course we want it done.
I'm saying, take some pride in ownership, help them out, help you out, clean it
We
up.
Totally agree.
Let's get you a
No
permit.
one's disagreeing. We totally agree with you.
If it's just, I think it's just cleanup. Tie it to this one, just, you know, before the 5th.
That's fine. Yeah.
So,
Whoa. We got a timeline?
We're not
So
doing
part
a
of it is
timeline.
just-
We're doing,
just so you
we're
guys
just gonna
know-
help them by attaching it to
Yeah.
the 3rd building permit. And if you have it done, you won't even have this grading done by then, and it's not gonna matter.
Yeah, that's right.
Permit, yeah, first permit.
That's fine. Yeah. and-
Okay, let's say it into the mic so that we know what the hell's going on. Oh, sorry.
Defining cleanup is to the satisfaction of the Public Works, to the staff.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I like him getting involved. Hell.
We're fine with that.
he's not busy at all.
Yeah.
And just so you know, we did fire the old landscape maintenance company. New one starts, I think, in a week or something, so.
I just think that it'll, once they see that, they'll be a little happier with everybody, especially with you guys.
Yeah.
And they'll feel like something's happening. If you're saying 30 to 60 days, if we put it on the first building permit, then it's not an issue.
Yep.
Right.
Ty, what do you think?
So,
Okay, great.
So what we typically do is at 75% of the units being sold. That's in most municipalities when we're phasing in our amenities for a specific node like this, that's typically where we operate if we have anything at all. So I know 50% was thrown out, but that's typically where we're at.
That's been what we've put on other developments.
Is 50%?
well, are you starting at phase 1? I mean, just because it says phase 1 doesn't mean you're starting at it. Okay, because this shows it in phase 4. So, I mean,
Do we need to
that's
call it a
gonna be,
phase?
well, yeah, because they'll build it in phases. Yeah, with this one, we can go 75% on it. That'll put us into, even though phase 4 doesn't have, they might hit 75% with all those condos. I mean, they won't, but it'll be close.
You'd have to put in the road and then do the amenity before you probably got to 75%. Or at about at the time that you get 75% of those lots.
I'm fine with 75%.
I'm fine with it.
Make them think.
Okay.
I'm fine with the 75%.
I feel like we're moving in the right direction. Let's get that cleaned up and get it.
Move it to 60 and do it.
It feels like with your front end landscaping and cleanup, that maybe you give them a little more leeway on the percentage because you're asking them to do something in addition on the front end.
Yeah, and it is a previous owner's mess. And they're gonna have the amenities that they're gonna start shortly with phase 4 that's coming up next. So I'm fine with,
I'm going to give you, can I give Commissioner Shell a little history?
Yeah.
So the developer before the developer that just sold had gone totally belly up defunct.
Is that Red Hawk?
Red Hawk was tumbleweeds and whatever. And when Carl Larson and his group came in, the city council was elated to just have anybody, right? And part of why their document reads how it is how terrible it was at the time, how it just was entirely defunct. Not a unit had been built, well, there was some, what was it, sewer lines out there, Brandy, that were put in? There's some sewer lines. That was the only public improvement that had been built on a fully vested golf course master plan community, right? So that was in such a condition that when the Larson group came in, they were looked at as, hey, they're gonna refresh this, they're gonna get it going. And they never did stop, but just whether the motivations or the intentions of building it quickly when the market was hot just never, their results never matched the market's speed, if you will, right? And so we've learned some lessons along the way, but the Larsons got essentially the treatment of, we're just so glad somebody's interested in trying to pick this off the ground, right? And so at that stage today, there is something on the ground. There's people that live there. They're proud of what they've got, but they would like to see some improvement. And I hear you talking about those very things. And so I think you're addressing their concerns.
Okay, this is Commissioner Mitchell. Make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat for the vineyard at Alea / Stuckey / just Stuckey Farm. Stuckey Farm subdivision located approximately Washington Fields Road and Red Slopes Parkway, with the 2 findings, 14 conditions, and then also adding that the cleanup be completed before the first permit is issued for this particular, phase 1.
Clean up surrounding community.
In the surrounding community or up Washington Fields.
Doing the detention pond.
To Public Works
Yeah, and
recommendation specification.
And we understood it to be Washington Fields Road up to the detention basin. Yeah.
And
the detention
And the detention basin. Did I get it all? And 75% after, well, the amenities to be completed at 75% completion, on or before 75% completion.
Of the units sold, correct, yeah.
Units sold.
We have a first, do we have a second?
That motion.
I have a first from Mitchell and a second from Tupel. Commissioner Shill?
I feel like I don't know. I think we're going down the right path. I'll approve it.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Aye.
Commissioner Tupel?
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I'm an aye as well.
Don't let us down.
And I'll look for an adjournment so we can go home.
No, we got another
Right,
thing.
One more.
Oh, 4B.
Hopefully it's these guys.
Oh. A final plat approval for the. We did.
Comments.
Were we supposed to have a public hearing on that last one?
You could call one and open it. There were no members of the public here, but you could go ahead and just do that and then move to item B.
Because,
Open it,
oh,
close it.
so on that last one, on 4A, there was no one here for a public comment, so.
So I would just say something like the commission had overlooked the public hearing component, so you're now gonna open it for public hearing and then close it. Yeah, just go back to item 1, open it up and.
Yeah. There were no emailed.
Oh, there were no
comments.
Yeah, just do the motion.
So we will open up the public hearing for item 4A as we overlook to open that. Okay. There's no one here for the comment. We'll close it and the motion stands. All right, 4B. Item 4B is a final plat approval for the commons at Sienna Hills located at 147 North Washington Parkway. The applicant is Brown Consulting and the owner is Riverside Express LLC. We'll turn this over to Eldon.
Thank you, Commissioners. Last agenda item here. This was brought before you, well, the setback was brought forth to you last meeting, so this layout here is very familiar to you. With that approval, the setback relief that came last meeting, the applicant's now asking to subdivide the property as shown on the plat. Staff has reviewed the requested proposal, and the minor subdivision conforms to the standards as set forth in the zoning regulations and minor subdivision ordinances of the city. Staff recommends the Land Use Authority approve the minor subdivision final plat application for the commons at Sienna Hills based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions. And I did confirm that the access easement recorded on the plat is sufficient. That came up during the setback request, and with it being noted on the plat, it's documented in a recorded document that will maintain that access from parcel to parcel. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Eldon.
We've kind of went through it, so.
Well, it is a public hearing. Let me open it. All right, since no one's here, I will close the public hearing. So I'll look for a motion on this now.
I'll make a motion to approve the Land Use Authority approve the minor subdivision final plat application for the commons at Sienna Hills, subject to the findings and conditions in the staff report.
First from Tupou.
This is Commissioner Mitchell, I second.
And second from Mitchell.
Aye.
Shell?
Aye.
Tupou? I'm Bullock, I'm an aye as well. This is approved. Now I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
This committee,
To adjourn.
I second.
I have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.